3rd of February, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua, Teruma.
Hey.
Good afternoon, Rabbi.
Good afternoon. So I'm a bit late. Yeah. Okay, let's go. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Good. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. We are up to
Let's see.
Pasuk Yud base. Mayor, please read Pasuk Yud base.
Okay. Says V'yatzakta lo arba tabot zahav v'natata al arba pa'amotav u'shnei tabaot al tzal'o ha'echat u'shtei tabaot al tzal'o ha'sheni. Okay, so v'yatzak. I'm not sure what Yetzak is.
To cast.
Oh, okay, right. I think we had this. Okay, we mentioned this the other day. Okay, so you should cast 4 tabaot zahav, rings that are gold rings, I guess.
4 gold rings.
Okay, and put them on the 4.
Rashi's going to explain this. Means Ha'amosal means the corners. It's 4 corners.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, on the 4 corners, and then ushtei tabaot, and 2 rings on one side, and
Okay.
two rings on the second side.
Right. So let me ask you, as a innocent bystander, how many rings were
there? I would have to say 4.
Because that's what your teacher told you.
Well,
I would venture to suggest 8.
8 rings.
Well, I tell you why. Look, let's read the passage. You shall cast for it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right.
Place them in the 4 corners. And 2 rings on one side, and 2 rings on the other, on the second side.
Yes, you're
So
right.
together, 8.
Mhm. You're right. 8 rings.
Okay, we're going to see in Rashi.
Okay,
It's a machlokas rishonim whether there were 4 rings or 8 rings. We'll see.
Okay, v'yatzakta, and you shall cast. Lashon hatacha. Oh, that's
Expression of how do I say it? Hatacha means to smelt.
Oh, smelting. Oh, okay. Okay, Ketargamo, as it is said in Targumunculus. Okay. So Pa'amotav, which we said were the corners, Ketargumo, as the Targum says, Ziv Yate.
It's corners.
It's corners. Oh, okay. Uvizaviyot ha'elyonot samuch l'kaporet hayu nitunot.
Okay.
This is what they were placed on the upper, I guess, corners next
Meaning,
to,
and I'll show you here. Let's have a picture over here.
next to the cover, I guess.
Yeah. So you've got a picture over here. I've just an example over here. Yeah, yeah. Seconds. So you see this, here it's got one ring, see, one ring, two rings, three rings, and the fourth one's hidden behind the other one. But they're towards the top.
Oh, okay.
Interesting that actually the Gemara says, Gemara in Shabbos says that the rings were placed at a third of the height. Meaning your height is 1.5 amos, which is equivalent to 9 tefachim. Okay? And the derech of a person to carry a weight is, or perhaps he puts, like say, rings or poles to carry something. The derech is to have it a third from the top and 2/3 from the bottom. That's the standard position of where you would put poles and when you want to carry something.
Oh, okay.
In fact, the Gemara discusses this point by the mizbech, the outer altar, the mizbech hanachoshes, which was a height. Well, it's machlokas whether it was 3 amos high or whether it was 9 amos high, or altogether 10 amos high. Because since the Torah says it was 5 amos by 5 amos, that means the height, the total height was 10 amos. Okay, the Gemara says that just like the golden altar was 1 amma by 1 amma and 2 amos high, that the height was double the length and the breadth, to the outer altar was also similarly like that. In fact, I have a picture to that effect. I don't have it here today. Yeah, we may have it actually over here. This one. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah. It just says he only draws the picture according to one opinion, which was 10 amos high. Anyway, it looked like this. This was the Mizbech HaNachosh. So the Torah mentions it at the end of the Parsha. Anyway, so the Gemara says, nice over here, if you look at the picture over here, the top, the last amma was just the turrets, the corners. Okay, and from this level down to the bottom was 9 amos. Okay, says the Gemara that means it was carried 6 amos from the ground. The poles of the poles of the copper altar, right, were inserted at 1/3 of its height. In other words, this point over here where you had the poles was 6 amos from the ground and 3 amos from the top over here.
That's too high.
What?
That's too high.
Oh, so the Gemara discusses, says, what was the height of the Levim who carried this copper altar? Because if the six amos, they had to have at least 7. The Gemara says, I think it's 7. The Gemara says 7 amos from the ground to the Levim's shoulder, because you couldn't have it mamish by the thing. You have to have at least an amma. The Gemara says, on average, you have to have at least an amma gap from the floor, from the ground to the bottom of the altar when you're carrying it, because you can't be flush with the ground. You have to have at least an amma. So the Gemara says that the height of the Levim, I believe, was 7 amos from their shoulders to from the shoulders to their feet. Okay. Anyway, that's just an aside.
That's too big.
What? They were like just like
People
that.
aren't that big.
I mean, I don't want to make the comparison. You've got these basketball players, right, who are 2
7
meters.
feet tall, not 7 amas tall.
Okay, so 7 amas is
Like 14, 15 feet, or even
Correct,
20
about
feet,
14
depending on
feet.
how big you think an
14
ama is.
feet, including the head, is 15 feet. It's another.
And
half
that's
an
just
hour.
to the shoulder.
Yeah, I'm saying to the shoulder, then including the head, the Gemara says the head is another half an hour there. Anyway, okay. I'll go upon him. Just saying that the poles were inserted at the third. Rashi just says they were close to the top. They were close to the kaperis. Okay? Shtayim mikan u'shtayim mikan.
Okay.
Carry on.
So, well, let's see. Shtayim mikan. So 2 on the one side and 2 on the other. Okay. L'rachbo shel aron. At the width of the aron.
Yeah. So what it means is as follows. I'm going to show you the picture over here.
Okay.
See, there we go. So you see that the 2 rings and the poles were attached on the narrow side of the aron.
Oh, yeah.
And that allowed it to be carried by 2 kohanim standing in between. Because somehow, I'm not quite sure, I've never quite think, even though I looked in the number of Gemaras Gemaras that speak about it, is that for some reason, the Gemara assumes that the 2 kohanim, or the 4 kohanim, who carried the aron, stood in between the poles and not on the outside of the poles.
Oh.
But the Gemara says, because they stood in between, it must be that they stood on the long end and not on the narrow end. Because if it's on the narrow end, there's only 1.5 amas, and there's no room for 2 people to stand. Whereas if they're on the long end, a person takes up a person's width, meaning from shoulder to shoulder. The Gemara says it takes on an amma. We had this in the Gemara in Sukkah. Right? The Gemara says the Gavra ba'amsa yasi. Person sits. The amount of space the person takes when he sits down from shoulder to shoulder is an amma. So if the 2 kohanim are standing, one on the long side, and that's 2.5 amas, so there's space between, space for them to stand. Especially that let's say for the one who's standing on the left, okay, so the left pole is on his left shoulder, okay, and therefore his amma is a little bit moved over a little bit, right? Kitzur, there was more than half an amma between the 2 people carrying it on the left side, carrying it on one side and on the other side as well. Whereas the 2 kohanim, when they stood to carry the aron, so the one on the left put it on his left shoulder, and the one on the right put it on his right shoulder. So from the edge of the right shoulder of the one, so the edge of the right shoulder, the one on the right, and the edge of the left shoulder on the left, it was more than 2.5 amas, because he had the pole as well. So therefore they said they comfortably could carry the aron if they were carrying it on the length side. Okay, let's carry on.
Okay, Vabadim Nitunin Bahem. The poles were okay. V'arkoshel Aron Mafsik Ben Habadim Amatayim V'chetzi Ben Bad Levad. So let's see the length of the Aron Mafsik.
It literally means interrupted. It means stood in between the 2 poles.
Oh, it's in the 2 poles. Okay, and it said it was 2.5 amot
Between one pole and the next.
And the next.
So going back to the picture here. Yeah, as you see over here. Here's one pole, There's the other pole, and you've got
Right.
2.5,
In between.
2.5 amas in between.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Sheyesh shnei bnei adam hanosin et haaron mehalkin bneihem. Okay, so there were two.
Right, that the two people carrying
The
the Oroin on either side, the Maisa was Sachakol 4, Mahalchin Beineim, they'll be able to walk in between the poles.
Uh-huh. V'chein mefarash b'minachot b'perek shtei halechem. Oh, and it's explained in the Gemara Perach Menachos. Okay. Menachot in Perek Shtei Halechem. Okay, the next Rashi. Ushtei tabaot al tzalo ha'achad. So the two rings are on one side. Okay. Hein ha'arba tabaot sheb'techilat hamikra. Oh, so these are the four rings.
Which is stated at the beginning of the Parsha.
Oh, so right, it's at the start, which you pointed out. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Ufeirash lecha hechan hayu. And it explains, let's see.
Where are they?
To you, where they are. Okay.
Right, it was these four. You should cast for it 4 gold rings. When Osatan should place them al arba pamoisa when it's 4 corners. Ushtei tabois. So the vav is problematic over here. So should the pasuk said, she just said, Shtei tabois atzalo echas, ushtei tabois atzalo hashenis. Okay, that's what Rashi is going to say now. Vav zu yisera. This vav of ushtei tabois atzalo echas, that vav is superfluous.
Wow.
That's right. Even on that, it's misleading.
Right. Okay.
And how is it to be explained? Its interpretation is without the vav.
Oh. Okay.
Carry on.
Let's see. V'yesh lecha liyashvatein ushtayim min hatabaot ha'elu al tzalo ha'achad.
Right. That's how I translated it. With 2 of the rings on one side and 2 of the rings on the other side. In other words, you should cast 4 gold rings for its 4 corners, with 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, and the last Rashi tzalo.
My English puts in the word these. It uses the vav to mean these 2 rings.
Yeah, I also yes. And 2 of these rings shall be on one side, correct?
Yeah.
That's what it says. That's what Rashi saying.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, and tzalo, which we translated its side, it's tzido, from its side.
Okay. Right.
Side is a side. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Lou, this is further. Pasuk Yud Gimel.
V'asisa v'dei atei shitim v'ti pisa osam zahav. Okay, and you shall make staves of wood,
Of shittim wood.
that is shittim wood, and you shall cover them with gold.
Okay.
Rashi says, Badei, motos, poles.
Poles. Okay.
Okay.
In fact, this term is not often used, the term badim.
Yeah, my footnote says that bod usually means linen.
Yeah, but it can also mean, and that's closer to this thing, means when you have a stalk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Stock.
okay.
Yeah.
How do you find it? Badim, no, where do you have it? You come in the Mishnah is for sure. You say Shlosha Bade Hadas. And the Arovas will have two badim. Badim means the stalks with the leaves. Okay. The mayor, next pasuk Yudalad and Tesvav.
Okay, so Yidal Ve'veita et habadim b'tabaot al salot Aaron laseit et Haron bahem. Okay, so they put the
You shall. This is all part of the commandment.
oh.
You shall insert the badim into the rings.
Okay, on the side of the Aron, to carry the Aron, I guess, with them.
Right.
Okay, that's your dollar. I don't see any Rashi there.
No.
Okay, so Tet Vav. B'tabaot ha'aron yehiyu habadim lo yasuru mimenu. Okay, so let's see. B'tabaot the rings.
In the rings.
Oh, in the rings of the Aron will be the I guess poles. And they shall not, I guess, be removed from it.
They should not be removed from it.
Now, this is odd to me. I mean, if I were an interior decorator and you came into my house with a bunch of furniture and you had poles connected to it in order to carry it in, first thing I would say is, get rid of those poles, put them in the storage container.
Okay, so now you're asking a very good question, and I'll emphasize the question, or make the question even stronger, is that these poles didn't even fit.
And they didn't even work.
No, they did work, but they didn't fit into the Kodesh HaKadoshim.
No, they weren't strong enough, I'm saying. They weren't strong enough to hold the weight.
Right, that's also a thing. By the way, I told you that the Rashi learns that shittim, Rashi in Gemara Rosh Hashanah translates shittim as pine. And pine, as we know, is a soft wood.
Right, it's not strong.
It's not strong. So, and I also asked at the Derech HaGod, I mentioned to you that they use pure gold. And pure gold is not strong either.
Uh-huh.
But it's heavy.
What?
But it's heavy.
That's true. That's true, no doubt about it. It's a very heavy metal.
The iron probably weighed 2 to 4 tons.
It's totally impossible that 4 people could carry it.
Right. But be that as it may,
that was there.
Ugly.
Sorry?
Be that as it may, the poles are ugly.
So I'm telling you that the Gemara says a very interesting thing. I'm not going to go into it because it's a little bit of a new concept. It says that the poles of the Aron were dividing between the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies, and the sanctuary was a poroiches, was a curtain. Okay? And the Gemara says that the 2 poles were to stick out, point out, like the thing, jut out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim into the Kodesh, into the Poroiches, k'moi shnei dadei isha. Like the breasts of 2 women's breasts.
Dade means breast?
Dad means a nipple, 2 nipples of the breasts of a woman.
I thought the word shadaim was breasts.
Yeah, correct. So dadim are the nipples.
I see.
Okay, now
The
the
poles are supposed to look like nipples.
what?
So you're
The
saying the
poles-
poles are supposed to look like nipples?
Yes. Now, why it sounds very strange bringing this concept of it sounds like unsneeristic, something like
Absolutely.
why you conjure this concept over here of 2 women's breasts sticking out, and that's what the poles represented. Lamaisa, it goes into very deep in Yonim. The Lamaisa, the Kodesh HaKadoshim was called Cheder Amitos, Kaviyach Lakosh Baruch Hu's bedroom. Okay, basically, the Aron represented the Kaviyach Lakosh Baruch Hu's bed, right? Where this is the point where there was the closest connection between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Jewish people. And more than that, I want to elaborate. Okay? That's why this was.
So
this
you're
was-
saying that's the reason why the poles were left in?
Yeah.
But that only explains the poles of the Aron.
No, so the other one's not.
The other ones were not left in?
No. We had 2 other sets of poles, the Mizbeach and the Mizbeach Hazov, the Mizbeach HaChitzon also had, the Mizbeach HaNechoshes also had poles, and the Shulchan as well had poles.
And they were taken out and put in
They were
storage?
taken out. They were not kept in whilst they were sitting in the Mishkan, they were taken out.
Very interesting.
Okay?
Okay, so there's one more Rashi. It says lo yasuru mimenu. So they
Shouldn't
can't
be
shouldn't
removed.
remove it. It says
La'olam,
leolam,
forever.
forever. Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, okay, let's go next pasuk, Luke, pasuk Tez Zayin.
Okay. Vinasata el ha'aron es ha'edus asher etain elecha. Okay, so that means, and you shall put the ark.
El Ha'aron, the Sato El Ha'aron. You should put into the Aron. That's what she's pointing.
Into the ark, the testimony that I shall give to you.
Right. Which Rashi is going to
That's
point out?
referring to the tablets or the Torah?
Sefer Torah.
The Torah.
Rashi is going to speak about it. Rashi is going to tell us here.
Okay, so Vinasata el Ha'aron shall put into the ark, Kamo Ba'aron.
The El in this sense is the same as a base, into.
Oh, it's like El Ha'aron is like Ba'aron.
Right.
I see. Okay, so it's ha'edus, the testimony, haTorah shehi le'edus beinei uveinechem. Beini uveinechem. The Torah, it is a testimony between me and between you.
Between me and you, right?
Shetzi visi eschem mitzvos hakisuvos ba. That I commanded you the commandments that are written in it.
Okay.
So it's a testimony.
I understand you're going to ask, what kind of testimony is it?
Yeah,
You
it
know,
doesn't sound like a
there's
testimony.
this scroll,
It sounds
it
like
says
it's
you've got to do
the
this.
law book.
What?
It doesn't sound to me like the two parts of the sentence are connected. It's a testimony, and then he says because it's a command, it's a command code. It's a code of law.
Yeah.
How is that a testimony?
So, what I understood is as follows. Shad says, if you would find, let's say archaeologists would dig somewhere and they found this scroll, and it says there that's so-and-so God, whatever, somebody called himself a God, and he gave a set of laws to particular people who are these people who are the God's special people. Now, would that, just finding it and you look into it and says, oh, yeah, that's interesting. This is very interesting laws. Would that be mechayev anybody who found it?
No.
Making that to impose upon him, oh, I'm going to keep these laws because I know who this God is. I don't know. It's like totally out of the blue. You don't know anything about it from nothing. The fact that is an entire people who are keeping these laws. And what's the source of the fact that they're keeping these laws? Because it's written in this scroll. So what? It must be that the God who is mentioned in this scroll has chosen these people who are keeping these laws. And he told them, you know, because you are my people, therefore, you've got to keep these laws. And the mice, they do that. They keep these laws. Then that scroll is a testimony that there is a connection, special connection between the God written in the scroll and the people written in the scroll. And the fact they actually go ahead and keep those mitzvahs, that is testimony that this people has a connection to this God mentioned there. Otherwise, why else are they keeping these mitzvahs? See, Lou, you are deep in meditation.
I'm reading the footnote, which is saying something completely different. So it's not really relevant.
Actually, I have to know. Just give me 1 minute. See whether I wrote anything on this. Yeah, 55. 1 second. Just 1 second.
So if I was digging and I found a book that said, these are the statutes of the state of California, and then I found out that there's a bunch of people that are following them, and the state of California didn't exist anymore. It was an ancient state. So you're saying that I would therefore believe that the state of California existed because these people are following it?
Yeah.
I see.
Oh. Yeah. No, I'm dwell on a different kasha. That Rashi elsewhere says the testimony is not the Torah scroll, but it's referring to the tablets, to the luchos.
Yeah, that's what my footnote says.
Yeah, that's what I also dwell on that. That's what most of the Farshim deal with. Okay, Beseda. Okay, I will stop here. We got up to Sheni Baruch Hashem. And I wish
Okay.
everybody a very good Shabbos.
Have a good
Thank you,
Shabbos,
Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom.
Kol tov. We were
Okay.
Kol tov.
Good job.
Very good.
Good.